Hello, you're watching TVP World News. I'm Jonasz Rewiński. US President Donald Trump said he will send Patriot air defense missiles to Ukraine. While he did not specify how many missiles would be sent, Trump said Washington would be reimbursed for their cost by America's European partners.
I haven't agreed on the number yet, but they're going to have some because they do need protection. But the European Union is paying for it. We're not paying anything for it, but we will send it. It'll be business for us, and we will send them Patriots, which they desperately need, because Putin really surprised a lot of people. He talks nice, and then he bombs everybody in the evening. But there's a little bit of a problem there. I don't like it.
In an interview with the Financial Times, German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius said Germany will not supply Ukraine with Taurus cruise missiles. At the same time, Pistorius confirmed that Berlin will provide Kyiv with Patriot air defense systems purchased from the United States. Pistorius noted that Germany no longer has enough Patriots to supply from its own stockpiles. The country has only 6 Patriot batteries left, which is too few to complete NATO's new capability goals and at the same time send some to Ukraine. He also said that the German defense industry must ramp up its capabilities, including the production of ammunition, drones and tanks. Pistorius's comments about not sending the Taurus cruise missiles to Ukraine come just 2 weeks after the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said that the decision was still under consideration. The Taurus missiles were heavily sought after by Kyiv because of their capability of striking targets 500 kilometers away, a distance greater than other long-range weapons Ukraine has received from its allies. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy said in his evening address that while on his visit to Ukraine, US Special Envoy Keith Kellogg will be briefed on the current situation on the front lines. Zelenskyy also said he expects the United States to fully understand the available means to compel Russia to cease military operations in Ukraine.
I am grateful to everyone who is truly steadfast in defending our state, our independence, and our people. Today we also discussed the upcoming visit of General Kellogg. Negotiations on further support will take place during the week. I instructed Commander-in-Chief Syrskyi and Chief of the General Staff Natov to present the information we have on Russia's capabilities and our prospects. We are also preparing meetings between President Trump's special envoy and the heads of the security service of Ukraine and our intelligence services. The information provided will be comprehensive. We count on the United States fully understanding what can be done to compel Russia to peace.
Firefighters in Poland have successfully battled a massive blaze at a factory near Warsaw. The cause of the fire is yet to be determined. Flames tore through a foil production hall in the city of Minsk Mazowiecki on Sunday, about 40 kilometers east of the Polish capital. The fire broke out early in the evening, quickly engulfing the entire 1,000-square-meter facility. Around 280 firefighters were on the scene, with thick plumes of smoke visible for miles. Everyone in the vicinity of the hall managed to evacuate safely. EU officials have been forced to go back to the drawing board after Washington unveiled a surprise 30% tariff on the bloc's goods from next month onwards. At the same time, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says that any countermeasures are on hold while negotiations take place. Konrad Gorliński reports.
It's back on. Just as we thought there'd be a new trade deal between the U.S. and Europe, U.S. President Donald Trump posted the following letter on Saturday. In his signature fashion, Trump invited Europe to, quote, participate in the #1 economy of the world, but with a 30% tariff. Reactions from Europe came instantaneously. During a meeting on Sunday in Brussels, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen underlined that Europe would like to continue negotiations, but is prepared to take countermeasures.
We will therefore also extend the suspension of our countermeasures till early August. And at the same time, we will continue to prepare further countermeasures so we are fully prepared.
So what kind of concessions could Europe make to the U.S.? What are these so-called trade barriers that Donald Trump speaks of? In his most recent blog post, Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Krugman writes that U.S. products already have almost free access to Europe's market. The EU can't make trade concessions because there's nothing to concede. He therefore advises the EU to, quote, go ahead and retaliate. Trump says he'll raise his tariff even higher if it does, but how much more damage can he do? And remember, U.S. consumers will eventually pay Trump's tariffs. This view was mirrored among German economists on Sunday.
I would very much recommend to take a hard stance because, in my view, and this is also confirmed by economic models, the United States might even suffer more than the European Union.
Now, there are a number of things the EU could do to try to appease Trump, including purchasing soybeans and LNG from the U.S. and, of course, purchasing more American military equipment as the continent rearms. If this doesn't work, there is one countermeasure that would certainly cause the U.S. some serious damage.
The ultimate option would be to impose tariffs on digital services coming out of the U.S., but Europe knows if they were to start this ultimate policy tool, then they're really in the midst of a fully fledged trade war, something I don't think that the European Union is willing to engage in.
So there are certainly a lot of reactions coming from government and media regarding these new tariff threats. But how are the markets reacting? Well, it looks like they've been largely unresponsive. Trump sent similar letters earlier in the week to countries like Japan, South Korea, and Canada. But market reactions were negligible, and the popular expression, Trump always chickens out, or taco, was cited as one reason for traders' comfort so far. Markets don't open again till Monday, so there's still a chance that reactions will be stronger to the EU and Mexico.
Well, we saw that last week when we had the first letter day that markets hardly reacted at all. But I think now with the 30% threat for the European Union and the 30% threat for Mexico, markets will react with volatility, probably with some correction, and again, new uncertainty.
Although Donald Trump has chickened out before, Europe remains cautious but hopeful. This despite many urging Ursula von der Leyen to take a more hardline approach. So, however trade discussions play out over the next weeks, the only thing certain seems to be continued uncertainty. For TVP World, I'm Konrad Gorlinski.
Speaking to German television, Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz addressed Donald Trump's announcement of 30% tariffs on European exports, slated to take effect next month. Merz said he's working intensely with European and US leaders to avert a tariff showdown and hopes a solution can be found before the 1st of August.
If that were to happen, we could put large parts of our economic policy efforts on the back burner, because that would overlap everything and would hit the German export industry to the core. I discussed this intensely over the weekend with both Macron and Ursula von der Leyen and with the U.S. President on Friday. I want to use this time now, the 2.5 weeks until August 1st, to find a solution, and I am really committed to this. The negotiations were already pretty far advanced. We've also seen this in other countries, Canada, China. There have been letters like this in many cases. At the end of the day, they were also negotiating positions. And then they were usually, not always, but most sensible solutions. And that's what I advocate for Europe.
People smugglers have been caught by Poland's newly installed checks at the Lithuanian border. Warsaw reintroduced temporary border controls with Germany and Lithuania earlier this week in response to what Prime Minister Donald Tusk has called an uncontrolled flow of migrants. Sonia Agata-Biszczan reports.
A woman was detained in the northeastern Polish city of Ełk on Sunday. The reason? Illegally crossing the Polish-Lithuanian border with 2 Syrian nationals. The woman is said to be a stateless Latvian with Lithuanian residence. The border guard noted that the illegal crossing will have consequences.
The woman will face charges for organizing illegal border crossings. The migrants will be handed over to the Lithuanian side.
On the same day, the border guards detained 3 Latvians in Kryvyane, a location designated for temporary controls on the Polish-Lithuanian border. The individuals were transporting 3 Somalis and a Sudanese person across the border. Saying, quote, more human smugglers detained, Jacek Dobrzyński, spokesman for the Polish Minister of Internal Affairs and Administration, listed the repercussions.
The Latvians will hear charges for organizing illegal border crossings. The foreigners will be refused entry and will be handed over to the Lithuanian services. There is no doubt that they were heading further west along the route from Belarus through Latvia and Lithuania.
The developments follow the Polish government's reintroduction of temporary border controls on Poland's frontiers with Germany and Lithuania. According to the Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, the decision was rooted in security considerations.
We've been struggling with organized illegal migration. And when I say organized, I mean it's been orchestrated, let's call it what it is, by the Lukashenko regime with support from the Putin administration. And the consequences have been very serious.
The tightened border control measures, which will last for a period of 30 days, are coordinated with the European Union.
Reintroducing temporary internal border controls is possible. We are in close contact with the Polish authorities and with the authorities of all member states concerned. And it is important, and let me add that neighboring countries with temporary border controls coordinate closely with each other to limit the impact of these border controls to a minimum.
According to the EU, temporary reintroduction of border controls is possible in cases of serious threats, for example, to internal security. They also ordered that controls should only be implemented as a last resort in exceptional circumstances. For TVP World, I'm Sonia Gatabishchan.
One individual was arrested and several injured after a group of anti-migrant protesters clashed with riot police in Spanish Torre Pacheco on Sunday evening. The protest was sparked by an attack on an elderly man by unknown assailants earlier this week. According to local press, despite increased police presence, groups armed with batons roamed the streets of Torre Pacheco, looking for people of foreign origin. When confronted by riot police, the groups threw glass bottles and other objects at the officers, who in turn fired rubber bullets at the protesters. It marked another night of violence in the town. The unrest erupted after a 68-year-old man told the Spanish media he was beaten up in the street by 3 young people of North African origin. The motive behind the assault remains unclear, and so far no one has been arrested in connection to the attack. And now, some news from the marine world. Humpback whales have been seen showcasing their tail fins and leaping from the water off the coast of Rio de Janeiro, delighting both locals and tourists. This marks a remarkable return for the marine mammals, with increased sightings and larger populations noticeable this July. Local marine biologists have noted that sightings have become more frequent, and the whales appear to be larger than usual, sparking curiosity about the reasons behind this change. While researchers investigate further, they have suggested that environmental factors may be influencing the shift in the whale population. And that's all for now. Thank you for watching, and please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news, updates and commentary.